We're in London today, a city that not so long ago, like most of the world, was gripped by a pandemic. A time when people were quarantined in their homes, separated from friends and family, when businesses collapsed, where every day the citizens would look out for the government briefings on the number of bodies. We're not talking about 2020. The Great Plague of 1664 and 1665 wasn't the first pandemic to have ravaged London, and as we all know, it was far from the last. Just how similar was pandemic life in 1664 compared to how it was in 2020, 2021, 2022? Above me is the monument to the Great Fire of London, which affords panoramic views all across the city so that you can see what might burn down again one day. Right at the base of the monument is pretty much one of London's only seated smoking areas. It's a bit weird, next to a monument for the Great Fire of London. It's like they're asking for trouble, like tempting fate.
Yeah.
Bit odd, isn't it?
So, isn't it ironic?
Don't you think? What are you pointing at?
What is this little upside down thing?
It's a sword. I wouldn't worry about that.
It's a sword?
Talk about the plaque.
Opposite this site stood St. Margaret.
No, they can read that. Talk about it.
It's a lovely blue plaque made of
No, talk about its significance.
marble or something.
Talk about its significance. All this was on fire once. All of this, all this, all this, all on fire. You would have been on fire if you were here.
I know.
Imagine that.
Hot
Imagine
stuff.
being on fire.
Hot diggity dog.
That's
disrespectful, isn't it?
Yeah, people lost their homes.
I'm really going to try and be respectful today.
For once in your life. You got nothing to say. So by September 1666, the Great Plague was already in decline, but they believed that the Great Fire was what finally extinguished it, killing millions of rats and the fleas that were spreading it. So it wasn't all bad. And of course, it led to a new London, one that wasn't quite so cramped, one that wasn't made of wood, and one that didn't have just basically all shit in the street. It's weird to think, really, isn't it? Because it don't look like an old medieval street that you'd have had a baker's in. Actually, I wonder where the nearest Greggs is. I asked where the nearest Greggs was. It's there at the end of Pudding Lane. I'm not even shitting you. Greggs is at the end of Pudding Lane. Greggs, by the way, for American and other international viewers, is basically Britain's default bakery, I suppose. Oh, I misread it. I thought it said Penis House. This is, what is this, St. Dunstan in the...
Hill?
St. Dunstan in the check-in, so Dunstan checks in, St. Duncan checks in, Dunstan checks in.
What? I'm so confused right now.
You never seen the film Dunstan Checks In? The
No,
monk with the orangutan
I've
who
never
checks
even
into a
heard
hotel.
of it.
You've never seen Dunstan Checks In?
No, but I think I need to.
Amazing. Anyway, this church there was a church on this site that was destroyed in the Great Fire. I only know this because I read it over there just now. Didn't even know this was here. And then it was rebuilt by Sir Christopher Wren, who rebuilt a lot of London, including St Paul's Cathedral. And then it was bombed in the war. And this is all that's left of it now. London's had it hard, isn't it?
I know, it's really been through it.
London is like the city equivalent of like our life, Sanja. But one thing
Thanks.
after another.
Yeah.
I can't believe you've not seen Dunstan Checks In.
I have never seen Dunstan Checks In, but like I want to now that I know what it's about.
Yesterday you were quite disparaging about Home Alone. And
What?
yeah,
I don't know. I was about the hotel.
I said I'd like to stay in the Plaza Hotel because of Home Alone. You said I don't care about that. And Dunstan Checks In is basically Home Alone 2 with an orangutan.
Well, I'd watch that and I'd stay there because of that. No, we watched a video of a guy who stayed at the Plaza Hotel and he found all sand in his mattress.
Yeah, that sounds like something Dunstan would have done.
Cool. Anyway, and then Paul said, "Oh, blah blah blah, Home Alone hotel."
Why are you recapping?
And I said, "I wouldn't necessarily need to stay there for that, but I'd want to stay there because it's just."
It's not what you said. You said I don't care about Home Alone. That's literally your words. They were literally your words. Why are you trying to... What does it matter if you don't care about Home Alone? Just be honest. Don't lie to people because you think, oh, God, I daren't offend Home Alone 2 fans.
I'm not saying I do care about Home Alone.
Doesn't make you a Trump supporter because you like Home Alone 2.
No, I'd never put those two together.
Well, he's in it.
Okay, I'm not like the biggest...
He's the little kid in it.
I'm not the
Everyone
world's...
thinks it's Macaulay Culkin, but it's young Donald Trump. That was the prerequisite
Maybe
of filming in the Plaza Hotel was that Donald Trump said yes, but I have to play the lead. Took a lot of makeup, but he did play Kevin in Home Alone 2, I believe.
and the orangutan in Dunstan Checks In.
Didn't need makeup for that. The London of the mid-17th century was a lot smaller than it is today. Even so, it was still the largest city in England, with between 350,000 and 400,000 people crammed in to wooden houses on medieval winding streets. No proper sanitation, they just chucked their filth out of the windows. The houses were so close to one another at the top that they almost touched. And because they were wooden, the whole city was basically a tinderbox, just waiting for an idiot like Thomas Fariner to start a fire. Because London was so unsanitary, and because the streets were filled with filth, they were also filled with rats, and the rats were full of fleas. Both the plague and the Great Fire of London had something in common, and that was opportunists spreading disinformation that both were started by London's immigrant population. Though nowhere near as multicultural as it is today, London in the 17th century was a growing city, and its docks brought people from all over the world: Africa, Asia, India, Europe, and just like today, unfortunately, that bred resentment. The plague had been floating around the fringes of London for a few years before it suddenly exploded in 1664. By the time it had finished, it had killed at least a quarter of the population of London. While the royal family and the wealthy were able to flee to the countryside, London was sealed off, trapping the poor within its walls. Ow. The government imposed quarantines, boarding people up in their homes if even a single member of a family was shown to have signs of infection. They would be locked in their houses for 40 days with their entire family. A Red Cross would be painted on the door and guardsmen would be placed outside. A lot of what we know about the day-to-day life for people trapped in London while the plague raged came from the diarist Samuel Pepys, not diarrhealist, the diarist Samuel Pepys, who wrote extensively about both the plague and the Great Fire that followed. This bust marks the site of Samuel Pepys' home, just a stone's throw from the Tower of London. Pepys wrote in his diary on June the 16th, 1665, "Lord, how sad a sight it is to see the streets empty of people, and very few upon the change." I don't know what that means. "Jealous of every door that one sees shut up, lest it should be the plague. And about us too," I should have read this beforehand because I thought. "And about us 2 shops in 3, if not more, generally shut up. It was dark before I could get home, and so land at churchyard stairs, where to my great trouble I met a dead corpse. Are there any other types of the plague?
Zombies.
I don't think they're real though, Sanja, in all honesty.
Well, maybe Samuel Pepys did think they were real.
I thank God I was not much disturbed by it all. This was something that became apparent as people just became numb to seeing death all around them and bodies in the streets. So I read on through Samuel Pepys' diary, and he keeps mentioning someone called Spong. Spong.
I'm sorry?
Spong.
Spong?
He had a friend called Spong.
Wow.
I don't know what planet he was from.
I mean,
he says this
so
is
he
genuinely.
believes in zombies.
He
He
has
has a friend called Spong who might have been an alien.
He said Spong and I had several fine discourses upon the globes this afternoon, particularly why the fixed stars do not rise and set at the same hour all year long, which he could not demonstrate, nor I neither. They didn't know anything back then, did they? No wonder they didn't know how to stop the plague. Hello everyone. If you're wondering why I'm sat at this funny angle to Sanja, it's not because we've had another argument. It's because I discovered shortly after making this video that I have COVID-19. How's that for irony?
So, are you ready to try to be cured?
Boy, oh boy, I can't wait.
I have a sack. Some people thought you could prevent the plague by drinking fine wines. You can also bathe in milk if you want.
Oh,
Just saying.
ass's milk.
One plague cure I won't be administering is bleeding you out.
Yeah, don't do that.
So slice, get that bad blood out.
Go get a knife, I will do it.
No. Mix poo with tree sap, put it in the bubo.
It is weird sitting like this.
It's really weird. It's not a hand grenade, you can open it if you like.
You didn't hit this through, did you? We've now changed our background to a blue screen.
Isaac Newton actually came up with a cure which involved hanging a toad upside down by a fireplace. The toad will vomit onto the wax, collect the wax, dry the toad and powder
So this is the supposed genius that came up with the idea of Mavity.
Turn the concoction, I guess you'd call it, into a lozenge, and then you would put the lozenges onto the buboes. Chop up the snake, chuck it on the buboes. Spiders on you.
She made that.
Apparently chickens breathe through their bums and their bums will suck in all the bad air. We should leave these on you because these are healing cures.
We should do.
Want me to wipe you with vinegar?
No, I don't, because it stinks.
Most people would have access to bread. Bread will absorb the bad air. Powdered unicorn horn, which is called alicorn.
Bread now.
In the end, they ended up getting rhino horns and narwhal horn.
Listen, if you would like to win this.
Yeah, it's the first creature I've ever made out of clay, so be
really
kind
good.
to me,
I really
please.
like it. It's really good. I kind of don't want to give it away. But
do you like it?
I will say we'll disinfect it, because obviously I've fingered it. We'll give it a good wipe down after I've finished touching it this time. If you'd like to win this, why not join our Patreon, www.patreon.com/Mr. Biffo. You can join for free and you sometimes get posts. You can join for £1 and you get videos early. And also, you're not only that, but you get like 7 years worth of content. There's loads of stuff going back. www.patreon.com/Mr. Oh. The other thing about Samuel Pepys is that he was a Parmesan freak.
Parmesan freak?
Yeah, he loved his Parmesan, so can we start that again?
Yeah.
The other thing about Samuel Pepys is that he was a big fan of Parmesan cheese.
He was a Parmesan freak?
I don't. Why do you do that? Why do you do that?
You hate it when I do that.
Why do you do that? Say what I just said before.
You can put in the bit of you saying it so that you get
Yeah, I'm going to. So,
well, I mean, Parmesan is a lovely umami-rich.
But he buried it in his back garden.
He buried it, why?
Because the fire was coming, the Great Fire was coming. He didn't want to lose his Parmesan.
Oh no, did it all melt?
Well, no, because he buried it.
Who's got time in a great fire? So it wasn't like, oh, it's a little fire. It was a great fire. Who has time to then go and build really deep ditches in their garden?
Do you build a ditch?
Dig really deep ditches in their garden.
Building an above ground ditch, which I believe would be called a mound. Is it? Anyway, there's a little plaque there in honour of how much of a Parmesan freak Samuel Pepys was.
Oh yeah, oh my God, that's so cool. I have something to honour Samuel Pepys.
Samuel. You keep calling him Samuel, which is interesting.
He's my ancestor.
Which is interesting as well, because when we started researching this, you thought his name was Samuel Pepys.
And I kept calling him Pepys, and Paul kept correcting me. But I do have something in honour of Samuel.
No, you can't do it.
Samuel Pepys. Are you ready? What I have in my bag is, I do have a plague survival kit, but it can't all be all work and no play during the plague.
No play.
You need, yeah, exactly. You need like some nice things in life as well. And I thought, no, Samuel Pepys, thank you.
You called him Samuel again.
Did I do it again?
Yes, Samuel.
Because I feel a kinship with him. Not that I've even
read his writings. Admit it.
But I wanted to say thank you, Sam.
Oh my God!
Thank you, Sam. Thanks. I'm just going to call him
Pepys.
Sam. Thank you, Sam, for your work and your diaries and helping us learn stuff about the plague. And look what I got for him.
Samuel's Pepys.
Why did you do that?
Well, I've left them there for him.
He disapproves.
Leave a peep for Samuel.
Are you making fun of me? Guess what? Gluten-free and fat-free.
Okay.
They're very powdery.
I don't really think we should be just leaving random food on London statues.
I'll take it off.
At the end, okay.
Yeah,
so why
I'll just let him absorb the energy of it.
Why don't you just mash it into his face?
This is a fact for later. I'm placing the peep bum down onto Samuel Pepys.
So you did it again. I thought you were going to call him Sam. So you
I'm placing the
stop
peep.
saying Samuel.
I'm placing the peep bum down onto Samuel Pepys, and there is a reason for this, and you'll find out later.
We should have brought him some Parmesan.
See, and some Parmesan. Reason for this, okay?
Wait for us to be arrested for smashing peeps into a statue.
No, not smashing, placing.
Yeah, I hope you're going to take that off there.
I will,
I'm appalled by that.
I promise I will.
I didn't know this, but Samuel Pepys had a pet monkey. He wrote once in his diary, I got to London at 11 o'clock. At home found all well, but the monkey loose, which did anger me. And so I did strike her till she was almost dead.
Oh no! I take back the peep. I take back the peep.
On 16th of February 1660, that's 4 years till the plague went nuts, he wrote, "So to bed, where my wife and I had some high words upon my telling her that I would fling the dog which her brother gave her out at the window if he pissed in the house anymore." He also had at one point a pet lion, which he kept at home. How about that? So he wasn't the most moralistic fella. He was known for having a lot of mistresses. He was a bit of a slut, shall we say, hussy.
Samuel the hussy.
So just shows you, everyone, that it doesn't matter how badly you behave, you can still get a bloody statue of you up in London, and carvings of your pets and your cheese. I mean, what have we got in the fridge at home? We've got some formerly known as Lunchables. If I die, and I happen to have written that I had some Lunchables one day, or pot noodle, I had a pot noodle the other day for lunch. If I write that down and I die and someone finds my diary, am I going to get a statue and a carving on the ground of a pot noodle? That's the question. And also, should I just write about all my dreadful animal abuse? I flung the cat around by its tail. Ha 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 ha. Samuel Pepys. Parmesan freak.
Samuel Samuel Pepys was a Parmesan freak. He loved the smelly yellow Parmigiano Reggiano.
That cheese, it was so tasty, it was hard and somewhat flaky. Oh, yeah, dirty, dirty Pepys, Pepys.
Samuel Pepys, he was a Parmesan freak. He buried all his cheese in a sack with wine and
The
cake.
situation, it was dire, but the cheese was safe from fire. Oh, yeah, dirty, dirty Pepys, Pepys.
Sanja, do you want to explain what you're doing? You're appalled, aren't you?
I'm so disappointed in Samuel.
Oh my God, you're still doing it! You're still doing it! You're spinning.
Oh my God.
Spinning's a good trick.
I'm so disappointed in Samuel.
Oh my
Pepys.
God! And still, you can't do it.
Okay.
Just call him Pepys.
Okay, right.
Right, say it.
I'm so disappointed in Mr. Pepys. He hurt his monkey, so he does not deserve a peep in honour of himself.
Sounds like a CBeebies character, Mr. Pepys. One that,
The peep is
one that
freed.
slaps monkeys.
Yeah, that's mean.
Yeah, mean Mr. Pepys. You're a mean one.
He gets
Mr.
no peep.
Pepys. At one point, Samuel Pepys went for dinner to a friend's in Southwark, south of the river, and watched the city burning. These steps are the last remaining part of the 1831 bridge, which lasted in London until the 1960s, when it was shipped over to America, in Arizona, of all places. The steps were also featured in Dickens' novel Oliver Twist as the site of the murder of Nancy by her dirty boyfriend Bill. Contrary to what a lot of tourists think, this is actually London Bridge. What a lot of tourists tend to think is London Bridge is in fact Tower Bridge, which is over there, and where Spider-Man fought Mysterio. The original London Bridge, well, there's been several actually over the years. The one that existed at the time of the Great Fire of London and the Plague was a stone bridge that effectively had wooden buildings all across it. That bridge lasted till about 1799, when there was a competition for designers to design a new bridge that was purely stone, which I think it was a guy called John Rennie and his son, also called John Rennie. Hope they didn't have indigestion. Who designed the bridge that lasted from about 1831 to the late 1960s or thereabouts. At that point, London Bridge was dismantled and shipped off to Arizona. And this is the bridge that has stayed up since. It's not very interesting, it's quite a boring bridge, but it does link Southwark in South London to north of the river over there. So what we got here, we've got St Paul's Cathedral there, we've got the Shard there, London's tallest building. Is it the tallest in Europe? I think it might be. You've got the Tower Bridge over there, you've got the Tower of London over there, you've also got HMS Belfast, which is permanently moored. And that building behind me there, shaped like a walkie-talkie, is generally referred to as the walkie-talkie. Now that building had some issues when it was first built, because it reflected the sun and was melting the road and cars below it. It was bouncing the sun back off, and it was basically creating death rays down below it. I mean, Tower Bridge, that's the icon. The main reason everyone knows London Bridge is because of the song about it falling down, and the fact that it's in Arizona. Sorry to keep going on about it, but they stole our bridge. I mean, how would I like it if we were there and we stole the flamingo? Not a flamingo, the casino. See, something that happens in London is we give all our buildings nicknames, or our tall buildings. So we had the walkie-talkie, because it looked a bit like a walkie-talkie. Got the Shard, because it was like a shard of glass. There's the gherkin, which looks like a gherkin, or as Americans call it, a pickle. We have the cheese grater, and over there we have the rhombus, maybe.
Is it actually called the rhombus?
I don't know, I made that up. It's got to have a name. It's a weird shape. Looks like it's sort of pregnant. Imagine if it was pregnant, it gave birth to loads of little buildings. That'd be easier, wouldn't it, than building things? That buildings just came out of other buildings and then grew.
That would be awesome.
When two buildings love each other very much,
They crash into each other.
a special cuddle, and then 9 months later, out comes a bungalow. So what was day-to-day life like for the ordinary people of London just prior to the outbreak of the plague? So following the end of the recent English Civil War, we're in the post-Restoration period where the Puritans had been defeated and Charles II was on the throne. And so London was becoming more cosmopolitan. Theatres opened, women even appeared on the stage for the first time. But there was one thing that Londoners seemed to love more than anything else, and that was a good old-fashioned execution. The Tower of London is often associated with executions, but in fact only a handful of people were ever executed there. And they were normally the highest status prisoners, such as the wives of Henry VIII. Most of the executions in this area actually happened literally where I'm standing now. There was a scaffolding here for, I don't know, hundreds of years, I think. And at least 125 people were killed on this spot. Some of them were hung, some were beheaded, and some were drawn and quartered. Often the hangings wouldn't happen straight away. The drop wasn't enough to break the condemned's neck, so they would get family members to pull on their legs to speed up their death. A bit grim, but people loved it. There was always a bit of a carnival atmosphere on an execution day. And they would literally, this is not a joke, they would have like stalls selling merch, food, and afterwards people were allowed to go and take clothing, bits of clothing off of the body as souvenirs. They even cut up like the noose in the case of the hanging as to hand out to people as mementos of what a fun day they'd had.
So basically we're standing on a spot where like loads of people were killed.
Yeah.
That's so grim.
Yeah.
That's really depressing to think how many
Literally there.
ghosts must be.
Oh, it's a grim old time.
It was a really dark
It was all
time.
here. I mean, this is the thing. I mean,
I can't believe it.
The Tower of London was untouched by the fire, but it was, you know, I mean, that's been there since this date here, but like at least 400 years pre-plague and fire. But that was untouched. But everything else around here basically was razed. This is why we've got these buildings that are surrounding us, because it was all wiped out by the fire. You know, what a year, or what a couple of years. Yeah, we think we've had it tough recently.
Yeah.
But, you know, London was hit first by a quarter of the population being killed
A quarter of the
by
population.
plague, followed by the fire, which basically destroyed most of the buildings. You know.
No wonder some people believed that it was because God was punishing them.
Yeah.
Apparently, so there are a lot of ways that there were a lot of superstitions people had to try and avoid catching the plague. And one of them was paying penance or even self-flagellation. You had groups of people that would go. You do? You had groups of people that would walk around from town to town with a cat o' nine tails or any sort of whip, really, just whipping themselves.
No, we're going to go over there and have a look. There's a bit of the wall still remaining because London was a walled city which had dated back to Roman times, and the wall was still up when the plague hit. And that was, or even though there were sort of slums just beyond the walls pretty much marked the perimeter of London. So when the graveyards and the cemeteries became overwhelmed with bodies, which they did, they ran out of space.
That's how many people were dying every day.
Yeah, they would publish these bills of mortality once a week, where they would list. It's actually like we had during the pandemic, except we had it daily, where they publish how many deaths that day, how many people were in hospital. It's basically that. Although back then record keeping wasn't all that, so they don't know exactly.
So it was probably more than what was on record.
But basically they had to do something with the bodies. So plague pits. Now, we don't know how many plague pits they built. We know some of them contain thousands of bodies, but they were all built outside the wall for obvious reasons. Now, that was all well and good, but then London started to expand.
Oh.
And London went beyond the boundaries that existed back then.
Yeah. How many plague pits do you think there are around London?
Well, we don't know. That's it, bottom line. They know where some of them are. They've found some.
How many have they found?
Well, we're going to go and
approximately, do you
visit
think?
where one was found, because they found quite a few when the Crossrail expansion was happening. The Elizabeth line was being built.
Yeah.
We're going to go to Charterhouse Square where there was one. That was one where they actually found bodies, but that one dated back to one of the previous pandemics. That one dated back to the Black Death, which was also the bubonic plague.
There were three big plagues around. Is that the Middle Ages?
Yeah.
Is that considered the Middle Ages?
I mean,
There are
that
about
one,
three
the Black
big
Death
plagues.
was basically ripped through Europe, whereas the bubonic plague that happened in 1665, 4-5, that was mainly localised on London because they sealed the city off. It worked, believe it or not. At some point we'll go to there's a village called Eam up near Derby that sealed itself off and demonstrated that quarantining worked.
Oh, wow. Cool.
That stopped the plague, because that was the thing. They didn't know for certain. They thought the plague was spread through the air. They didn't know that. I mean, this was the irony. They ended up killing loads of cats and dogs because they thought
Thousands of cats and dogs.
They thought they might be spreading the plague, but the cats and dogs were the predators of the rats that were actually spreading the plague. So that made
it was
worse.
the fleas on the rats, so they could have been fleas on the cats and dogs. So they weren't
That's
fully
true.
wrong, but still,
Fine, you
thousands
correct
of
me.
cats and
No,
dogs.
that's fine. It's fine.
So did you know that Dubrovnik actually came up with the concept of quarantine?
Why are you laughing?
Just because it's funny.
Well, that's funny, is
No,
it?
it's not funny. No, I'm not laughing. So at first, quarantine was, what they would do is make sure that all incoming vessels had to stay quarantined on a separate island for 30 days because Dubrovnik used to be under Venetian rule. In Italian, they would call it a Trentino, which is like 30 days. And then for Christian reasons, because 40 days was significant in Christianity, they changed the quarantine period to 40 days, and 40 is 40 in Italian, so a quarantino was like a quarantine of 40 days. There's this island in Croatia near my dad's island called Mljet, and that was the site of the very first plague hospital, or at least temporary
explain that
plague
your dad
hospital.
doesn't own an island.
He doesn't own an island, it's just the island where he was born. So he was born on the island of Korčula, which is kind of close to the island of Mljet.
Hasn't Sanja got a lovely Italian accent? Hasn't she?
No.
Isn't she good at pronouncing things in Italian, everyone?
No,
Wonder why that is.
I'm not. I'm really not. Why are you doing that face?
Ex was Italian. She lived in Italy. Her ex was Italian. So this here is a bit of the wall that was built by the Romans back when this city was called Londinium. This side was London in 1664. That side of the wall was not London. But of course now it's all London. Which is why when you're talking about the plague pits, they're just everywhere and we've just built on top of them. Weird to think this was, this brick I'm touching now was touched by a Roman. Sorry, I can't. And these here are fragments of the meteorite that started the Great Fire of London.
What?
So you just went, what? So you just asked me if that was true. Do you actually think the Great Fire of London was started by a meteorite and bits of it are just lying around in this park?
That doesn't match.
I've already told you it was the bakery.
I may have travelled to a parallel Earth where that is true.
These are the bits of meteorite that killed the dinosaurs.
Oh, no, that makes sense.
I had a little joke about there being a meteorite that started the Great Fire of London, which there's not one coming now. Don't be looking up there. It's a plane. That's a plane. However, in 1664, just before the plague exploded, there was a comet in the sky, which people saw as a portent of doom. Little did they know that people of London were about to have 3 of the worst years of their life. Our portent of doom was having a car crash on our honeymoon in 2019, wasn't it?
Yes, and then the pandemic hit the year after.
Yeah, so you see everyone?
We started it.
We started it. Sorry about that. Sorry, not sorry. I am sorry.
Why would you say that?
Because I didn't start the pandemic, all right? So where we are here in the east, right by Tower Hill and the Tower of London, the wall in 1664 was pretty much in disrepair. It wasn't like back in Roman days where they used it to keep out raiders. It was more like a boundary marker of that was London. So this area here would have been basically nothing. It was like fields, perhaps marshes, but the wall ran from here in the east to Blackfriars in the west, and it turned north into Ludgate Hill, then east to the Moorfields marshes, and finally south all the way back round to the Tower. Now a lot you might be aware of tube stations, London Underground stations with gate in the name. Aldgate, Moorgate, there's Bishopsgate, then there's Ludgate, Newgate, Cripplegate. They were all gates into the city.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
This is Smithfield Market. Some of you might know it as one of the largest and oldest meat markets in London. It dates back about 800 years. But East Smithfield was one of the main areas during the Black Death that bodies were buried. This area was sort of known as a no man's land, basically, for the wasteland that it was, but also for just the sheer number of corpses that are under here. Again, no one knows how many, and now it's all animal corpses. It's dark now.
It's very dark.
It's dark now in London, which is appropriate.
Well, you're not going to say night has descended on London?
Feels a bit eggy, don't you think?
You can never be too eggy.
Night has fallen on London as we reach the darkest. I don't know where I'm looking. I'm blinded by those lights.
because night has befallen London.
Night has befallen London as we enter the darkest part of our video. We're in Charterhouse Square, which I just read a plaque that said Catherine Parr, who was one of Henry VIII's many wives, lived on this square.
Did she? Wonder which house was hers.
I don't know, probably not.
That's
probably
the most.
not any of these, because these are all far too modern.
Yeah, that's the most ancient looking house.
Yeah, I don't know. There was a priory, which is where it got its name. But in
Whoa,
2000
sorry, the camera's going mental because my
No,
scarf.
you're going mental because you're fidgeting.
Because my scarf.
The camera wasn't doing anything. You were. Whoa, the camera's out of control.
It's got a life of its own.
Okay, right. So as I was saying, in 2013, when they were working on the Crossrail expansion, they stumbled upon a plague pit in this square. I don't know which corner it was in. One of the corners of this square, and they discovered 30 bodies dating back to the Black Death. Now, my God, will you either let me hold the bloody selfie stick?
No, I was worried that my microphone.
Either let me hold the selfie stick,
Okay,
which
so-
she has expressly forbidden me to do.
No, I haven't.
Because she
I let-
claims I
no, you
hold it
did
at
it
an
before.
unflattering angle. Never mind that all her angles on me are unflattering.
No, I'm following on both of
She
us.
has claimed I'm not allowed to hold the selfie
No,
stick.
you are allowed.
Let me hold it. She's not letting go of it.
No,
see?
okay, take it.
Don't be a... Okay,
No,
stop.
have it,
no,
have it, have
stop
it.
being a dick.
Good, take it.
Don't be a dick wife.
Take it.
No,
take
I'm not doing it anymore.
No, I
Right, I'm
promise
trying to talk about dead bodies.
Okay.
Have some bloody respect. Right, so 30 bodies dating back to the Black Death were found, I don't know, over there or over there, one of the corners. And there was actually an archaeologist they had to get in charge of these plague pits during the Crossrail expansion, because they found that wasn't the only plague pit they found while they were doing the work.
Oh, wow.
But in this area in particular of London, they think there could be as many as 50,000 bodies from... This was a real plague pit area.
50,000.
From the various plagues, yeah.
Oh my goodness!
This
Because of
area
course,
alone.
yeah, there was more than one plague. Lymph nodes are known as buboes when they swell up, I think, or they're just known as buboes.
Focus on the selfie stick.
And I don't have this. I'm doing this from memory, so good luck, everyone. And what would happen is that the infection would cause all your lymph nodes to swell, so you'd have these giant buboes in your neck, your armpits, your groin,
What,
and
like
they could.
Looking like the character from Lord of the Rings.
What's his name?
Bubo Baggins.
Bubo Baggins. Anyway, the buboes could grow as big as like an apple or a potato, apparently.
Oh, wow.
And then they would like split open and seep pus and blood, and then eventually turn black.
You know it hasn't even been wiped out, the bubo.
No, I know. People
there's-
still get it these days.
But it's controlled with antibiotics. You can
Exactly,
just-
but they didn't have antibiotics back then.
Antibiotic. And Uncle Penicillin.
And their
Oh my
friend
God, your
Bubo
camera work.
Baggins.
I'm gonna.
Okay, I'm sorry because I wasn't
it's
paying
only
attention.
annoying because
Let's
you
stand
said I
onto
wasn't
the-
allowed to hold
you
the
are
selfie
allowed
stick.
to hold. I just said hold it. Here, hold it.
No, because you're going to grip it again because you think that's funny.
So that was the bubonic plague. Then we had the which is the? Is that all right?
That's much better.
That side?
Yeah, perfect.
That,
So she's so vain.
oh, we all are. Then we need all the help we can get. Well, I do. Then we had
My wife, who's clearly very beautiful.
Then we had
thinking, going, I'm like a monster.
There's a lot of space above our head.
Could you stop being so controlling?
Okay.
I have the selfie stick right now. Will you just shut up and focus on your facts that you insisted?
One more fact. You're so cute. Look how cute he
Get
is.
off.
Okay. And then the third massive plague that went
Right there,
viral, the third plague that went viral
Don't
around
tell
those
me
times.
how to use it. You can't even keep it straight. Your camera works like that.
I know. The third
Wow.
the third plague that went viral at that time, of course they weren't viral plagues, they were bacteria, was the septicemic plague, in which the plague bacteria would get into your bloodstream.
Okay.
And then, or maybe that was the one that your organs
Fine. I'll
started
just put
shutting
some
down.
facts up on the screen about all these.
Someone looked at us.
Yeah, I know. He wants to know why we stood in their doorway.
Let me just double check that.
No, don't double check it. It's fine. I'll double check it and I'll
The septicemic plague might be
It's
the
going
one
on a
where...
bit, this bit about the plagues.
So the septicemic plague did not have buboes as a symptom, but it had symptoms like vomiting, diarrhea, tiredness, weakness,
Oh, my
fever,
favourites.
chills.
Are they multiplying?
Oh, you won't like this. Seizures and then bleeding from the eyes and the rectum.
Why wouldn't I like that?
No, it's,
Why wouldn't I like that any less? Why would I like that less than any of the other symptoms?
no, I said you didn't like it.
What?
The septicemic one is the one that you would get organ failure and then
You
gangrene.
singled those symptoms out as the ones that I wouldn't like.
No, well, you wouldn't like any of them.
Just don't know why you singled out bleeding from the rectum.
Well, would you like that?
That's a daily occurrence for me.
You know how when we go to cemeteries and you're always getting cross at me for accidentally stepping on the graves. How am I meant to cope in London? It's like wherever I step it could be a grave.
But this is the thing, they know, and they're not sure exactly where, they know there's a massive plague pit at Aldgate, and Aldgate of course is a big station on the Metropolitan line.
So everyone's just walking on...
Well, not walking, but the trains are going underground through basically plague pits. You know, we're talking hundreds of thousands of bodies down there.
That's grim.
You know, so you're working, all these offices built on bodies, you know, homes, shops, businesses, restaurants, pubs. It was another thing. I mean, this video could have gone on and on because I wanted us to go around some of the execution sites that were, you know, the one at Tyburn is the famous one, but then there's execution of the docks.
I've just had a thought. You know how like...
Well, that's fine because obviously what I was saying isn't important.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's fine.
Sorry.
Because it wasn't important what I was saying.
I thought you'd finished.
Okay, which bit of me being in the middle of a sentence made it sound the fact that I have to breathe?
The pause between...
Do you want me to just compress all my words together and not take breaths between them so that you don't have an opportunity for your brain to go, oh, I've got something more interesting to say? No, it's fine. I was talking about like execution sites.
No, go, say.
The one specifically for pirates in Wapping.
What?
Yeah, interesting, isn't it? Imagine if I'd let you interrupt me and just cut me off. Yeah, no, execution of dock is, they used to take them for one final drink in a pub that's still there called the Turk's Head.
I wish we'd gone.
And then they used to take them down to the beach, hang them, and then they would eventually remove the bodies after 3 tides had washed over.
No way.
Yeah, and there's a pub down there, not the Turk's Head, but a pub on the shoreline which has got a noose hanging outside a fake gallows.
We've got to go. We should save this info for a future video where
We'll do
we actually go.
execution sites in a future video.
Yes, let's do that.
Okay.
No, I shouldn't get excited about that because it's grim.
Yes, and also let's execute some people while we're at it. What were you saying, Sanja, that when you tried to interrupt me when I had that interesting information to impart?
I was saying, you know how the first Ghostbusters film was set in New York?
Yep.
Can you imagine if they set a Ghostbusters in the UK, like in London even?
Okay, that's
even
really
if it was just in London.
When I was giving some information about execution sites, that's what you decided was more important.
But can
No, I'm sorry, that is what you decided was more important.
Yes, because we have ghosts of pirates, we've got all the plague pits full of ghosts, we've got all the execution of victims. What do you call people who've been executioned?
Executioned. It's weird, Matt. We've just done a big long walk on the embankment now. Behind me is the OXO building. I don't know if that's showing up. You know what the deal is with that?
No.
I don't know how true this is, but certainly the story I've heard is that the Oxo building, when it was built, there was a ban on advertising on the side of buildings or advertising over a certain size or something. So Oxo instead designed a bunch of air vents that just happened to spell out Oxo vertically.
No way.
How true that is. It's weird because we walk through there and it's like there's all this building still going on. It's like London now is, even in my lifetime, it's so much sort of bigger vertically than it was. And yet there's still this sense of the past being buried over. I mean, I know there's still a lot of historical buildings even as I'm looking here. But we sort of forget, don't we? En masse, we forget the lessons of the past. I mean, you can even feel it now, even though there's a inquiry going on where the British government have admitted they made mistakes during the COVID years, some quite severe ones. There's just this sort of sense of everyone willing themselves to forget and kind of get back to normal, even though I'm certain we did as a planet suffer a sort of collective trauma from those years. You know, certainly, you know, it buggered up our lives in a lot of ways. You know, my career's still not fully recovered. You know, we've not recovered financially from the hit that we took, and ultimately the pandemic killed my dad. But you just got to hope that we learn lessons for the next one. But I don't know that we will, because even, you know, when you look at the patterns, when you look back at, you know, the Great Plague, you know, you have people who are in denial, you have people spreading disinformation, you have people blaming the wrong things, you had quacks coming up with stupid cures, like injecting yourself with disinfectant. And I don't know, I just don't think we're together enough as a species, really. We achieve all these things, but we're not together enough to stop people having their lives ended or shattered. We're just too divided. You know, and I suppose it sort of surprised me when I sort of started looking into the whole plague pit thing in this episode. That idea that it's all still beneath our feet. You know, it's still literally beneath the surface, but it's buried and we sort of build on it, and we quite literally sort of build on top of it and sweep it under the rug. Oh, I'm saying we should always kind of go, oh yeah, the Great Plague, let's never forget it. But even sort of a few years on, I can see us doing it already with COVID. And you know, as they've said, it's only a matter of time to the next one. You know, they seem to be getting somewhat more frequent, because we had Spanish flu in was it 1917 to 1918, which killed hundreds of millions worldwide. Yeah, I don't know. People don't like being told what to do, but yet people don't like watching their loved ones suffer and die either. Take it from me. I don't know. Don't know what I'm saying. Don't know what I'm saying. Just that, you know, the whole COVID thing was shit. Really. Cheery ending, isn't it?